Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I again want to talk to you about the Tiger Woods case. I'm going to put a link to this particular article in the description for the video. This article, this is both in print and on the news, is talking about the fact they now found hydrocodone pills in Tiger Woods' his pants after the DUI rollover crash. So, after they arrested him, they searched him, and now they're saying, well, he had 2 pills in his pocket. They also say Woods had bloodshot and glassy eyes. Okay, he was sweating profusely. I think this is a lousy case for the state. I think this is very unlikely he's going to get convicted. This is a defense attorney's dream. Okay, and here's why. First of all, there was an accident, okay? It looked like a rollover accident, and I thought I saw something about him potentially being ejected, but whether he was or whether he wasn't, this was an accident, okay? And he even admitted, he said, look, I was distracted, I was playing with my phone, I clipped the back end of this other vehicle, and that caused my SUV to flip over, okay? And look, if you've ever been in an accident, okay, it's especially one where there's a major accident, it can certainly be unnerving. You're also dealing with somebody who's had probably more surgeries than at this point he can even count. So they initially thought he might be under the influence of alcohol, despite the fact they apparently didn't smell anything on him, and they made him take blow into this roadside machine. Again, I don't know how admissible any of this stuff is, because the test is supposed to be administered on a certified machine, which is typically done at the sheriff's office. But giving the cops the benefit of the doubt, he blew a 000. Nothing in his system, okay? They said he had bloodshot and glassy eyes. Now, when I was prosecutor, I was chief of 2 different county court divisions. And once a month, for an entire week, it was my responsibility to review every DUI arrest that came into the office, unless it was a serious bodily injury, in which case it went to a different unit. But as a general rule, it came to me. And I'd review all the filing packets submitted by law enforcement, and I'd make the filing decision. And I must have read thousands of probable cause affidavits. And I also did defense work. I read thousands of them. And do you know how many of those thousands said the person had bloodshot and glassy eyes? 99.99999% of the probable cause affidavits I read said the person had bloodshot and glassy eyes. Even cases that I decided there was insufficient evidence and no filed, meaning I didn't file the case. You know why I didn't file the case? Because there were 000s on the breath test. So this is all smoke and mirrors by the press, and it kind of irritates me, as you can tell, because they're basically crucifying him because he had bloodshot and glassy eyes. Every report I've ever read said that. And the fact that he had pills in his pocket, first of all, I don't think that evidence is even if this case goes to trial, that evidence is probably going to be excluded, okay? It's completely irrelevant. It's not what was in his pocket, it's what's in his system, okay? Right? That's what this evidence should be establishing, and it doesn't. I don't think this is even going to get before a jury, that evidence. It's going to get excluded, and the state should be agreeing to it, because I can't imagine a judge is going to allow this to come in, because what they're going to say is, well, here's the evidence, right? He had these two pills in his pocket, so he must have been driving impaired. That's what they're going to say. I don't think this is coming into evidence. And they said, well, he did bad on roadsides. The roadsides are, they're simply a way for officers to gather evidence, okay? They make you walk in a line, heel to toe. They make you stand on one leg. They make you say the alphabet, okay? Listen, you could be stone cold sober. If this is the first time you've ever done these things, okay, there's no way you're, quote, passing them, okay? And a lot of the time it says, well, he swayed. I want you right now to stand on 2 feet, close your eyes, and see if you can get someone to videotape you and see if you don't sway. We all have a natural sway. So again, I put 0 stock in trade in these exercises. And had he not taken them, I don't even think there would be a case that could be filed. Frankly, unless he looks absolutely diabolical on the video, okay, I don't even know if they have any case here. I'll be honest with you. I mean, he'd just been in a rollover accident, right? how relevant are these roadsides? So I wanted to share that with you because, I mean, look, I don't know Tiger Woods from a hole in the wall, but this sort of, you know, attitude where the press thinks it's okay to crucify him and convict him before we see all the evidence, frankly irritates me, okay? As a former prosecutor, as a defense lawyer, this is a lousy case. It's a lousy case. There's barely enough here to charge him. I'm sorry. There's barely enough evidence here to charge him. Okay, and yet you have a right to refuse roadsides. You have a right to refuse the breath test. You have a right to refuse a urine test, and you have a right to refuse a blood test. Now, the state can prosecute you for that. So it used to be when I was a prosecutor, if you refused to do any of the tests, including not the roadsides, but the scientific tests, the breath test, urine, blood, those things, the Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicles, right, which is the administrative agency that gives us the driver's license, would suspend your license. And I suspect that's happening anyway. Okay, then they made a change to the law. And what they did was they made it a crime, a first-degree misdemeanor, to refuse the test. So they're probably going to, if they charge him, and I suspect they probably will, even though it's a lousy case, because I really don't think there's any evidence of impairment, quite frankly. Not that a jury could find anyway. They're going to prosecute him for refusing. Okay, do I think he gets jail time for that? Probably not. If he pleads to it, does he get a little probation? Probably. So, you know, I wanted to talk to you about this because, you know, if you get arrested, you are presumed innocent. Okay. And unlike the Baker Act cases that we handle, Tiger got due process, or is going to get due process, right? I'm sure he's already hired a lawyer. There's been talk on TV about an arraignment, which is simply a process where you either plead guilty or not guilty. He doesn't need to go to that. I'm sure his attorney is just going to file a piece of paper that says he waives arraignment and pleads not guilty. So there's not going to be an arraignment. So he can stand there and have the judge, you know, read all the allegations against him. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be a process, right? So I would imagine if the state files this case, right, if the state attorney's office files this, I suspect they probably will, even though there's not a lot of evidence against him. You know, there'll probably be some pretrial motions, and, you know, unless he decides to cop a plea, and I can't imagine, you know, why his lawyer would ever advise him to take a plea, because I don't think they have a case. I mean, I think there's a good chance he gets acquitted or walks or whatever. So I want to share that with you. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Somewhat of a hot button topic, you know, and maybe the press is getting all excited about it because of his connection with the president. And again, I don't care if you like the president or you don't like him. I'm here to discuss this case. That's it. But maybe that's what's got the press all tickled pink about this case. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I'd be interested to hear what you think. Do you think he's guilty? Do you think he's not guilty? Have you been through a DUI? Let me know your thoughts. And if you want to have a conversation with our office about the kinds of things that we do, because I don't handle criminal cases anymore, I send them out to a colleague to let him deal with them. But if you've got a loved one who's dealing with a behavioral health issue, and that may be what's going on with Tiger, then we'd like to talk to you. If there's an issue in your family and I haven't made a video, let me know. I'll make you a video. Because if it's an issue in your family, probably an issue in somebody else's, and these videos are about you getting the information that you need. And if you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. It does help. And if you want more of this content that I make for you every day, please subscribe to the channel. And with that said, thank you for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.